The Star Wars saga has long been lauded for drawing on various psychoanalytic archetypes. In the third entry in the series, Revenge of the Sith is no different, as the following aims to illuminate. These key archetypal roles can be found in the dynamic at the heart of Revenge of the Sith, that being the conflict which the protagonist, Anakin Skywalker, feels as he is torn between the light and dark sides of the Force. It is within this conflict that several iconic archetypes and psychoanalytic ideologies can be found. When looked at from an Oedipal perspective, Anakin's struggle can be understood on a far more nuanced level. Lauren Doloff defines the Oedipus complex as the attachment of the child to the parent of the opposite sex. Viewed this way, it becomes clear that the symbolic roles of mothers and fathers within Anakin's psyche hold a great amount of weight. For example, the story takes on an Oedipal nature when considering the parallels between Anakin's mother Shmi, whose death in the previous episode of the saga continues to plague Anakin's mind with guilt over his perceived failure to save her, and his wife Padme, whom Anakin suffers nightmares of, in which she is depicted suffering the very same fate, prompting the fear of loss, which catalyzes Anakin's growing distance from the Jedi Council. Author Vicky LeBeau describes Oedipus as a figure who can stand for the desires embedded in Dream in cinema, highlighting the Oedipal link between Anakin's hidden desire for the symbolic mother figure, in this case his desire of and sense of responsibility for her safety, and the dreams which he is haunted by. The role of fathers also plays a significant role in Anakin's journey. The symbolic figure of the father can be found in two characters, those being Anakin's Jedi mentor Obi-Wan Kenobi and the corrupt Sith Lord Palpatine, with the latter manipulating Anakin into embracing the ways of the dark side and severing his trust in the paternal figure of Obi-Wan, much like the plot of the Oedipal myth in which the father is killed in the search of the affection of the mother, in this case Padme, whose safety is promised should he make the switch to the dark side, and whom Anakin may as well see as a substitute for his own mother following her death. This emphasis on father figures being overthrown goes on to be elaborated on at the conclusion of Anakin's saga-wide arc, as in the 6th entry, Return of the Jedi. It is Anakin's son Luke who helps his father destroy the persona of Darth Vader and redeem himself back to the ways of the Jedi, a full circle moment which emphasizes the cyclical nature of the Oedipal drama and mirrors the transition seen in Revenge of the Sith. Dreams are another key focus in psychoanalytic theories, and they play a crucial role in Anakin's eventual turn to the dark side. Psychiatrist Martin H. Stein described dreams, which act as premonitions, as a dramatic type of defense against guilt. Viewed this way, Anakin's visions about Padme dying could be understood as an unconscious transformation of his guilt about his mother's death into a fear of losing his wife. The tragedy of Anakin's journey lies in the fact that these dreams act as his motivation to embrace the dark side, only for the steps he took to avoid his worst fears coming true becoming the very ones which lead to them transpiring as he completes his transformation into the very thing he had previously sworn to destroy. These dreams are also what motivate Anakin to consider straying away from the ways of the Jedi, since their code demands strict emotional regulation and the denial of fear. Meanwhile, the Sith operate on an emotional level, thus providing Anakin with an outlet for the emotions which the Jedi code have forced him to suppress. This contrast illuminates another key archetypal drama occurring within the story, that being the tug-of-war of sorts between the Freudian concepts of the id, ego, and superego. An article published in 2024 describes the id's purpose as seeking immediate gratification of wishes and a reduction of pain and tension, while the ego is described as the component of the mind that is able to adapt to the demands of the external environment. Meanwhile, Heinz Weiss explains how the superego serves the function of a critical observer, a source of prohibition and conscience. Applying this theory to the conflict of the film, it becomes clear that Anakin can be viewed as a symbolic ego, with Palpatine, the way of the Sith, and the dark side, as signified by the color red, acting as the symbolic id, while Obi-Wan, the way of the Jedi, and the light side, as signified by the color blue, acts as the symbolic superego. The tragedy of Anakin's journey is that in his efforts to betray the teachings of the symbolic superego, his eventual fate results in him substituting one superego, the Jedi way, for another, the dictatorship of Palpatine. However, the reasons for Anakin's submission to the bidding of Palpatine highlights another Jungian archetype, since the Jedi code's strict suppression of emotions such as fear and trauma leads to a swelling of bottled-up anger within Anakin, a reflection of the Jungian theory of the shadow self, defined by Jung as that hidden, repressed, for the most part inferior and guilt-laden personality. When applying this archetype to the film, Anakin's transformation into Darth Vader can be understood as a manifestation of his shadow self into a new persona. Jung was an advocate for the healthy integration of the shadow. As explained by Christopher Perry, The assimilation of the shadow leads to self-acceptance and self-forgiveness. It can be argued, therefore, that the birth of Darth Vader can be blamed on the failure of the Jedi to allow for a healthy integration of these emotions which their code insists remain suppressed, just as much as it is blamed on the corruptive influence which Palpatine has on the film's tragic hero.